Hello and welcome to another GMT game, classic, SEKIGAHARA The Unification of Japan. I don't know why I keep picking games that I'm having trouble pronouncing. This is an absolute classic wooden piece game with stickers to apply. So I'm used to that from Command & Colors Ancients, but if you're not a fan of sticking stickers, you're going to have a problem with this game because there's quite a lot of blocks to get stuff stuck onto, and oh, that's a heavy old box. Complexity is pretty low for a war game. 2. Solitaire suitability apparently slightly low, and as you can see, you've got these 2 factions, black and gold, and a load of stickers to apply, with each block being equivalent to about 5,000 soldiers apparently. And apparently there's 119 wooden pieces. That's rather a lot of stuff. There are also playing cards and then a beautiful map. And it's basically recreating the fight with the Tokugawa family uniting Japan over I think it was about a 7-week period. Yeah, it tells you on the back here. And I do know the rulebook for this has got some really, really good designer notes and historical information in. And I believe the designer did actually donate a whole load of proceeds from this game to the earthquake relief for the tsunami in Japan. So big props to the designer, who is, I'm glad to say, mentioned on the front cover. So Matthew Colkins. And this is the 3rd printing from 2016. And very keen to get hold of this. I've been hearing good things about this game. And I really do like wooden pieces and poker pieces, nice quality cardboard. I'm finding with war games, miniatures, which I used to love, not so keen on, and pushing around 5,000 soldier blocks would be very expensive and a very, very large table, but it would look magnificent. Anyway, let's get in the box. Okay, so another wonderful high quality box from GMT Games with a beautiful rulebook. So lots of really nice information in here, historical notes, how to play, how to set up the game, and a lovely aesthetic on that. A reference card for player 1, a reference card for player 2, then the dreaded sticker sheets, a couple of sheets there. Another baggied map, so pretty standard fare for GMT. Let's get this baggie open, and yes, I always like having some nice large baggies to store bits and pieces in, so it's always good stuff. And this map looks like it's going to be big when it's folded out, and got a little bit of a printing problem there. That's not so good. Might have to get onto GMT there. That's not really quite acceptable. But before we do that, your playing cards and slightly weird bags. I've got a very weird texture to them. And then the insert, which when you put it out exposes the bag of doom. So yeah, when you pull off the insert, a whole load of blocks with what looks quite nice paint job. We'll have to have a look. I've heard of a slight difference in tone, which is a problem because it's a hidden information game. So anyway, let's get everything stickered up. Hello and welcome back to SEKIGAHARA, which has been several weeks since I filmed the rest of the video. My board has turned up. I've played a few games, hoping to get the game back to the table sometime later this week. Now I've pre-configured the board. Now normally the gold blocks would actually be facing away, so as the black player you wouldn't actually know who is where, but for the purposes of this quick demo, I'm going to turn it around. Now there is an instant victory condition, so if this young man here dies, Toyotomi Hidoria, I believe his name was, the Prince Regent, for want of a better word. No, the Prince, in fact. If he dies, you instantly win the game, and I think it's this block here. Yes, this block, Ishida Mitsunara. If he dies, you instantly win the game, and then for the gold player, you're trying to kill the usurper here, this fella here. So Ishida, I believe it is it? Yeah, so Ishida is trying to kill Tokugawa Ieyasu. I can't quite remember how to pronounce all these words, I'm afraid. Now, when it comes to setup, each area has these little symbols. So you have some blocks with corresponding symbols, so those 3 blocks go on, and then occasionally they have little plus X, so +1. So randomly out of your draw bags, you'll draw some blocks, and I've done that for everything, so the game is ready to go. Now, there are the Mori in reserve, who will automatically join if Osaka gets invaded. You also have your generic reserves for both sides, which start with 4 blocks, and let's just give you a sweep of the whole of the island of Japan. And as you can see, it's quite a lot there. There is an option to track your impact on here, which is great. What's missing from the map, though, is the ability to track resources and castles. You sort of have to add it up. Now, you do get these little cubes. So, for example, this is a black castle, but if it gets taken over, you can put a little gold cube on to say it's been taken over. If black goes to a resource, which are the little red dots, have we got? Yes, there's one just in front here at Kawana. So, you know, could put that block on to say you've got it. And these give you a slight mechanical advantage in the game. Now, if you don't actually manage to destroy the relevant leaders to win instantly, at the end of 7 weeks, or 7 turns, as the game would view it, you calculate your victory points. You get 2 points per castle and 1 point for each resource. And whoever's got the most points wins. In case of ties, the sit-in reigning power wins the game. So yes, as the black player, you need to achieve more victory points. So you've got to keep track of the castles. Now, the player with the most resources, as I say, gets a slight mechanical benefit. The person with the most castles get a slight benefit as well. Basically, resources do not count for anything until someone actually visits them, and the last person to visit them claims them. Similarly with the castle, if it's not controlled by anyone, it's the default side, so gold or black. But if, for example, black moves in and takes over this castle, you put a cube on and that's now, you know, black's castle. So very important to capture these strategic objectives. There is a movement bonus for moving along the road, and then the game is very simple to play. You start with 5 cards per player, and you basically don't get any reserves or card draw or anything on the first week. You then bid for initiative using your card, and the way you do that, at the bottom of your card you have a number. So this media card, if I was to play it for initiative, I'd get 2. If I actually wanted to play a unit with this symbol, so these guys up here, in combat I would actually need to play a card to commit that particular card to a particular combat, and I seem to have a lot of this nice flowery icon, which is Fukushima. So some cards also have this sword symbol, which is important for things like cavalry and riflemen. So these 2 here, if you play a sword, you can actually trigger their special ability, and the more of that type of unit you have, the stronger they are in combat. So the cards are forbidden for initiative. You can also discard them to get extra movement, and of course you actually need them to commit units to battle. So what I need to do is have a think about what I'm going to actually do for my first turn. So I think secretly the black player is going to put this card face down so the opponent doesn't know what it is, and it's got an initiative value of 2. The other player would do a similar kind of quick check of their deck. So I think what they are going to do is they are going to bid this Mori card, and then they both reveal, and Mori is worth 1, Maeda is worth 2, so those cards are discarded, and the black player becomes the first player. So you've got this little kind of turn tracker. So black is currently in the winner, so we move now. If I actually move this down so it's not quite so high, you might actually be able to see the tracker here. So it moves down, both players go, then it moves down, both players go, then we're back to a new turn, and the numbers at the top tell you how many units you add to your recruitment pool. So turn A, first player goes, first player combat, second player goes, second player combat. Turn B, first player moves, combat, second player moves, combat. So when it comes to movement, you can just choose to do nothing, discarding your cards and withdrawing a replacement number of cards. You can also choose not to discard a card to get one stack to move, and depending on how big the stack is will depend on how many movement points it gets. You can discard one card to move up to 3 stacks, or you can discard 2 cards to move all your stacks and also get a free muster as well. Now, when it comes to mustering, you can actually discard, as I say, 2 cards to get a free muster, but you can also, if I remember correctly, give up a movement to get a mustering action. Now, a mustering action takes a unit from your recruitment box and it has to go to where it's normally based. So, for example, over here, if I was to muster one of these types of units, it would automatically go to this city here. There's a couple of options up here, and I think there is something. Yeah, there's Sega, is it, over on the right hand side of the map as well. So that's kind of your movement and your mustering. So when it actually comes to movement, you can move one location. So for example, I could move from Kyoso here into Gifu for 1 movement point. However, the larger my army, the less likely it is to be able to do that move. So if you're moving on the highway, which is the Tokaido and the Nakasendo, I believe, this kind of dark brown thick line, you get +1 movement. If you have leadership, which is either a guy with a little, what is it, is it a Nobu, I think, the little back banner, alternatively a castle, I believe, also counts as leadership. You can do a force march, which if I remember correctly is discarding a card. That would also give you +1 movement. And then the block size determines how slowly you move. So 1 to 4 blocks, no modification to your move. 5 to 8, -1. 9 to 12, -2, etc. Until eventually you get to the point where you can't move. So basically a huge army of 17 blocks isn't going to be going anywhere. But you can actually say, I want these 2 blocks to move, and leave 2 blocks behind, and that's quite a valid strategy and probably quite a good one. Anyway, if you move into a location, so if I move here, a battle comes about. So let's say I've done that. So it's the black player to go, so he's going to commit, actually let's move to, let's say these 3 units moved in. Now what I can do is, because I've got a leader present, he can deploy for free. And he can't be challenged for what's known as a loyalty test. So because I've committed him, I get 1 impact on the impact track because he's got a strength of 1. So the other player chooses to commit some forces. So he doesn't have a leader, so he is actually going to have to play a card. So let's say he plays this Mori card. So this unit commits to the battle. So he's got a strength of 3 because he's got 3 icons, or Mori, not Mori, I've forgotten the name for it. Anyway, the clan symbol. So I've played that. So I can now respond. So I'm going to play this card here, which allows me to deploy this unit here. Now, because this isn't a leader, I could be challenged on a leadership. So let's say my opponent has a leadership card. Let me just see if I can, yeah, here you go, a loyalty card. So he could actually say, I don't think you're loyal, and he could play that loyalty card. Now, if he was to do that, I would have to actually have a card in my hand. So if all I had was that, I would say, actually, no, he is disloyal. But if I actually was to say, I've got a card, then this card would stay in play. Anyway, no loyalty cards been played, so I add this, so that's got a strength of 3, 1, 2, 3. But in addition, it also matches the symbol of a unit already committed. So I get +2 for the fact that I've already committed a unit of this type. So it goes back to the other player. They might decide, well, this battle's lost. I don't want to lose too many blocks. So they decide, actually, yeah, let's not bother committing. Sadly, I get to play that card, and because I have a sword symbol, I also get to activate its cavalry ability. So I get +1 because of the symbol, +2 because it matches the symbols already played, and then because it's got the special attack bonus, it's I might have played that wrong, so hold on. I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I should have 7 attack in total. Yeah, so sorry, it's +2 for matching the cavalry. So I got another cavalry. So if I played a cavalry card like this, because I've already played a cavalry card, they would stack on top of each other. So there you go. So I've got an impact of 7. So that's 7 to 3. So the black side has definitely won this combat. So gold is the loser. At this point, you need to calculate losses. So you lose a block for every 7 impact. So this unit's been committed to battle. I've got 7 impact as the black player. This block is dead. It goes back in the box, never to be seen again for this game. No damage has been done back to me, so I don't lose that. Also, in addition, this side lost, so this block is also killed. So that's 2 blocks gone, and black has captured Gifu. Okay, so I would then hide these blocks from my opponent so he doesn't remember what units are there, and you have to sort of keep tabs on where leaders are moving and stuff like that. So it comes to drawing cards. So you will draw a card for every 2 blocks lost in battle. So the gold player draws a replacement card and gets a card with a symbol on, so a sword symbol, so that's good for them. There are no retreats, and there you go. So I've now captured 2 victory points, plus I've got the mechanical advantage of the turn. So that would be maybe turn A. The turn B, we kind of rinse and repeat, move various units around, and that goes on for a maximum of 7 weeks. And on week 2, we would add 2 units to our reserves and have more options available to us. Now, there is a little bit of a bonus for having the most resources. If you've got the most resources, you get an extra recruitment block. And when it comes to drawing cards, if I remember correctly, it's the person with the most castles gets an extra card draw. Yes, so in your weekly cycle, so when we restart a week, you discard half your cards rounding up. So for example, the gold player has 4 cards, so they would potentially say, I'm going to discard 2 cards. Then they draw 5 cards because they 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think they've got the most castles. We would probably have to check. Now this is my one criticism of the game. It could do with a resource and a castle tracker just to make it a little bit easier than having to go, right, how many castles I've got? I've got 1, that I've lost that 1, 2, 3. Okay, I got 3 castles or whatever it is. I think it's 3. Okay, this one's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a bit of a pain. Now, because the black player has the most castles, rather than get 5 cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I actually get 6 cards. But they also, of course, would have had to discard. Now, they've only got 2 cards, so they just discard 1, and they've got a nice new hand ready to bid on initiative. They've also managed to draw a loyalty card that has a really fantastic 8 initiative. So, you know, we then bid. So let's say I play that because I want a 3. I play that because I want a 2. So there you go. So those cards are burnt for initiative. This time gold goes first, so they get to move. Maybe they discard a card to activate 2 units, and then they decide to move a stack twice down here to try and recapture this castle, and then maybe this set of units, again, they're on a road, so they move twice here, capturing themselves a resource, so they get extra units in the recruitment box. So black in response, there's no combat, but they've got a load of cards in their hand that they can use to beat up this unit here. So maybe they choose to activate this unit and move it in there without discarding any cards. That then forces a battle, so they play a card, commit that for impact, and maybe the other player's unable to do anything, so they lose a block, have to retreat, and then that resource now becomes black. So there you go. That's potentially how it goes. Right, so there you go. That's probably all I want to show you. I haven't really shown you everything about the game. I've just given you a very, very light, quick overview of how it works. But if you want to learn more, I recommend you download this fantastic rulebook that you can get from GMT Games website. It's got this lovely clean aesthetic that I really like. It's got beautiful, simple instructions that you can follow. But the real selling point to me of this was the wonderful historical notes. These are just fantastic, and it talks about how the story of Sekigahara begins with the death of Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Oh dear, apologies for my Japanese friends. And basically it talks about how he had the greatest career in Japanese history, risen through the feudal system from basically a peasant to become the Taiko, the supreme warlord and ruler of Japan. And it goes on talking about various bits, and it goes on for page after page. So what have you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages of historical information, and then a page and a half-ish of designer notes as well. Really, really good manual. You can download this, learn basically how to play the game, and as you can see, it looks great on the table. It's got a very simple, clean aesthetic that works wonderfully. The map looks great. The symbology is fantastic, and you can start learning that this symbol here is Tokugawa himself, whereas this symbol is Maida, and who else have we got? Have I got a different symbol? Yes, so Fukushima with this lovely three-leaved symbol. And then of course on the opposing side you have Ukita, Kobakawa, Mori, Usega, and so on and so forth. Brilliant, simple design, and yet it works really effectively. Now, obviously, for the bare minimum impact, obviously you're going to get 2 plays, one as each side. But obviously, there's more to the game than just that initial hit. You are going to discover strategies and tactics as you play, learn the various compositions of the forces and the mix of the cards, and you will get through these cards quite a lot, because every turn you're discarding half your hand and then drawing 5 or 6 cards. So what looks like quite a big deck can disappear quite quickly, and one of the frustrations is not quite having the right card for you to launch your perfect assault. And this of course is part of the design of trying to deal with communication issues and loyalty issues, and the loyalty cards are a brilliant little touch where you can say, actually that unit that you're hoping to win the battle with, like this unit here that you've just committed to battle, unfortunately he's not loyal to you, so he's not going to fight for you. Brilliant little simple way of modelling the complicated politics of this part of Japanese history. Wonderful game, really enjoyed my play of it the other day, and really excited to try and get this one back to the table and try playing as the other side. I actually played as the Loyalists and won. Basically I let my general cower in Osaka, and he had a huge stack of like 12 guys defending him, so there's very little chance of him dying, and it also meant my little prince was protected as well, and I just let my forces march around beating up castles, accepting losses, because once a block's out the game, it's gone forever, and that can be quite painful at times. So anyway, there you go. Wonderful game, wonderful components, highly recommended. Definitely a game you should get a play of. Beautiful hidden movement system, with obviously the blocks normally for the gold player being turned the other way, so you can't actually see them, and you don't know, has this leader actually snuck out and's hiding in this stack over here. Obviously once he reveals himself to be here in a battle, then everyone starts trying to pile in and kill him. So yeah, wonderful game, and I hope you've enjoyed this very brief look at Sekigahara The Unification of Japan from GMT Games. Anyway, till the next video, I hope you have some great games.